everybody. It's Connie. It's Wednesday afternoon. It's 2 o'clock and my house is full of chaos. So if you hear lots of noise in the background, then you'll know why. One of the weird things I have going on is my cat is diabetic and my veterinarian wants me to check her sugars every hour. It is virtually impossible because she's such a wild cat. Anyway, to escape the crazy, I've been crafting. And so I wanted to show you another card so that you can add a template to your group of cards. These are called Gatefold cards. And basically, they're cards that open from the center. And this is one I made using non-close to my heart stuff. For a birthday. And so I just wanted to show you a gatefold, how to make a gatefold, and how to make a double gatefold. If you look at that, you can see it's got kind of a weird like Z pattern, and it opens like this. I think this one, the double gatefold, would be super cool for like if you had a wedding invitation or a wedding anniversary where you could have like information or a picture on the front, open it up and look at all the real estate on the inside. I think that would be kind of a neat card. So I want to show you how to make that. So I'm going to move these out of the way for a minute. And the first thing we're going to do is make a template. And remember, I'm a big fan of making a template because I don't like to look up cards every single time I want to make a card. Hi, Denise. So this is your basic, you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, chop it in half, and you have a card base. And normally you would just fold that in half and you would have a card. But with this one, you score it so that it folds to the center. And so what I've done is, here's your 8.5, and you go in 2 1/8, score, and then fold. 2 1/8 in from the edge, 2 1/8, score, and fold. Then it meets in the middle. Or if you're just sort of lazy like me, sometimes I'll just take one of these pieces of paper and I'll just sort of go, yeah, that looks about right, and I'll fold it, okay? So that's your gatefold card. So I labeled this gatefold card, I put the score lines in here, and then when it all folds up, said and done, it'll fit into an envelope and you can mail it, and that's awesome. A double gatefold card uses a larger piece of paper. So it's still, this one is still the 4 1/4. I labeled mine wrong. This is 4 1/4. Just like your normal, no, I guess it is 5 1/2. All right, 5 1/2. I don't know what I'm thinking. Anyway, by 12, 5 1/2 by 12. And then you score it at 2 4 8 10. And then you basically fold it in and fold it back. Fold it over and then fold it back. Like that. So then you have this that opens. So then I have the 2 templates that I'm going to add to my stash for the future. And I just wanted to show you, I've been using the cool papers that come with this Blue Sky collection. And I just want to show you again, I think I've shown these to you before. Hi, Heather. They have like an embossed print, and you can see it in the way the light is shining on it. It's got like a coating of an embossed print. And so I've been playing around with these papers a little bit. There's different patterns on different ones. And even if you don't love the blue sky, all the patterns, this cardstock pack is really cool and it makes some really neat cards. So I used, you know, the red for this card that I'm showing you. The other thing I want to show you is that when you're making a card like this one that has lots of folds on it. Hi, Stephanie. It's kind of a good idea to go with the grain. If you take your cardstock and you fold it this way and this way, one way is super easy to fold. You can tell it has like a lot of give. It's just like, that's easy. And then this way it kind of wants to fight you. And when you try to fold paper against the grain, what happens is, like this paper, for example, it's really easy to fold this way, and you get a nice clean fold. If you try to fold it against the grain, it doesn't want to fold, and it doesn't want to fold straight, and it wants to fight me. And sometimes you'll get like a gnarly fold, like it'll be kind of all over. And even when you score it, it's not as easy as if you go with the grain, which just wants to fold really easy. So I just wanted to show you that. So this one, I folded it with the grain, and remember 12" by 5.5, and then you score it at 2, 4, 8, and 10, and you fold it over and back. And I could have made the other side show, but I wanted the cool embossing to be the front of the card. It'll also be the inside of the card, so it'll be the main part that the people see. So fold it over and back. All right, so there's your double gate. Now the other thing, I have been playing around with watercolors, and I used my this is the stamp set that was in the Scrapbook Day card making set. I love this. I'll be here for you through thick and thin. And so I've been making, I don't know if you know this, but I've been making 1 or 2 cards every week, and I have been mailing them to just random relatives and friends, because I don't know, I just feel like there is, if you're stuck at home and you're watching the news all the time, there's not a lot of joy. And so it is really kind of fun to get happy mail. And so that is what I've been doing lately, is I've been making these cards. So this is stamped on watercolor paper. Now, Close to My Heart has really nice watercolor paper, but you don't have to use any particular brand. You could use anything cheap. Most watercolor paper comes in big spiral packs, and there's 2 sides to it. You can kind of see, let me see if I can show you. So there's a rough texture side that shows up pretty well. It's just a little bumpier. And then there's a smooth texture side. It's still a little bumpy, but it's not like the other side. Technically, for artists, the bumpy side is the correct side to use when you're watercoloring. Now, do we care really with the kind of stuff that I'm doing? No, not really. But what I do like to do is cut this into parts and pieces and have it kind of ready so that I can just stamp on it and then watercolor whenever I want. So one of the things that I did here is I stamped the little hand sanitizer bottles, spread joy not germs, and then I watercolored it using my water brush and my watercolors. And then the main thing about attaching stuff to a gatefold card is you don't want to put it, just adhere the whole thing over the front or it won't open, right? I mean, that seems obvious, but just ask me how many times I've made that mistake. So you want to adhere one side of it, so you're only putting the adhesive on half, right? And then we're gonna center it and adhere it to there. And that way when it opens, ta-da. Now the other thing you can do, you can put it in both on the same side and make one big panel, or you can put it on the other. So here I have, so I'm gonna put this one over here. Sorry, I need to use a different adhesive. But anyway, so you can kind of see they go together, they interlock, and when you open it up, you can put your information. I love, there's also a little stamp that said, I survived the quarantine 2020. That would be really cute on here. Anyway, so there is one gatefold card. This is the double gatefold. Cool, right? So that is one. The other thing, okay, I've lost all my parts and pieces here. Just a second. One of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about is what happened. One of the things that I really love is this stamp set right here. It is the Million Little Things stamp set, and it is hugely popular with, there it is. It's hugely popular with all the consultants. It has become like the big favorite. You know, the consultants get like a month preview before each catalog, and so this one has been hot. And the cool thing about this, I bought this, of course, right away because of all the neat artwork I had seen with it. But then, of course, we got one in our album retreat kit too. So for those of you doing the album retreat, you got one in your kit, which is amazing. But that also means I got 2 of them. So anybody who makes a gatefold card this week, I don't care if you use Close to My Heart products or not, I really don't care. Anything using and make a gatefold card, then post it on here. I am going to put your name in a drawing for this free stamp set. That is so cool because this one is, you know, an expensive stamp set and very fun. So one of the things that I like to do, I like to watercolor. Now, a lot of people like markers. If you're going to watercolor, you may have noticed when I stamp, you know, I stamp a bunch of images. This is on regular paper. If I tried to watercolor on here, I'd have to use a light wash. I mean, not much water, because the minute water soaks into this paper, it makes it kind of bubble up a little bit. It changes the texture and the finish, and it doesn't look as smooth. So those are good for markers. The watercolor paper, what I like to do is I like to use my brush and get it fairly wet. And then if you just go along and put water on a petal, it's kind of hard to see me doing this, I think, but see how it has like a little puddle on it? I'm going to do it on this one too. And then you take a little bit of your color onto your brush and tap it into the water, and it will kind of bleed into the water a little bit, and it makes it more of a lighter wash. And then if it feels like it's too dark, I got too much, you can take your brush that's wet and remove that color too. So I think that's kind of fun to just add color. If you could just color it like this, no problem. I also like to take a little bit of a darker, like this is orange, and tap into the water, and it makes it bleed a little bit into it. One of the cards that I'm going to show you in just a few minutes, and I'm going to show you more illegal artwork. I know that's terrible, but you know, some of the consultants really post a lot of really neat things, and it's really hard to make all of that myself, and some people are just so creative. So you can kind of see what I'm doing. Neato, right? That's just plain. I use the Intense Black ink because it is really good. It doesn't bleed with watercolor and it doesn't bleed with marker. One of the other artwork things that I'm going to show you here in a minute is done with embossing, and it is so gorgeous. And people are starting to play around with vellum again. Can you believe that? So there's some vellum examples too that I'm like, wow, that's cool. Anyway, I just think this looks really neat. The last thing I'll do, sometimes after it's a little bit dry, I'll go in and just fill in any white areas. And you know, honestly, this is like one of those 2-second card or 2-minute cards. It doesn't take very long, especially if you have everything kind of stamped ahead. The reason it doesn't bleed all over the place is that watercolor tends to follow water. So I'm going to screw this up for you and I'm going to show you. So if I only put water here and I take a whole bunch of color and tap into it, it's only going to really go where the water is. Can you see that? It kind of just wants to follow that water trail. And then you just let it dry. If you feel like, oh my gosh, I splattered my paper and I didn't want that pink on there, sometimes you can use a paper towel while it's really wet and just remove it. Isn't that neat? I hope you can see that okay. It's hard for me to see my camera today for some reason. Okay, so that's that. And then I like to do the same thing with the green. It's kind of fun to do leaves because you can fill it in with water. So I'm making a puddle of water and then I'm taking the green and just tapping it in and it wants to fill in, right? And then I'll take a darker green and tap just areas. So that's kind of the other thing. If like there I have a lot of water, you can kind of see it's real shimmery and wet. If I take a drier brush, right now it's pretty dry, it's just got a little bit of water on it, and I take it, it soaks up some of that excess, and you can kind of move the color around a little bit. The truth is, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are at this because it's basically just coloring. And the truth is, I showed you several examples. Did you even notice that any of them were out of the lines or looked bad or whatever? No, you don't notice. So I just like this wet technique where you just put water on it first, fill it in with color, just drop in color, and then it kind of wants to go where it goes. And that's one of the things about watercolor is, you know, it just does its own thing. So you have to kind of be okay with that. And then I'm drying my brush a little bit, and I'm just gonna move that around a little. So, ta-da! Anyway, that's kind of what I like to do. That's what I do with a lot of my, after that dries, it just looks so cool. All right, so I just wanted to show you that. The other thing I wanted to show you is one of the big things is the spattering technique that Close to My Heart is doing a ton of on their pages, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they don't do the spatter technique on the scrapbook pages this weekend with the album retreat. But basically you're taking your very wet paintbrush, it's really sloppy wet, and you're just tapping the color on. And you can see it makes like a really cool spattery. And right now it's raised and it's wet and it looks like, oh my gosh, terrible. But in a couple of minutes it'll dry and it'll look really nice. So that's what I did here. If you look at that friendship, you know, I spattered that with pink, the same color even, I think. And so it just dries kind of flat and it looks kind of neat. So that's another idea for, sometimes you just have kind of a sparse background and you just need something more. Okay. The other thing about this set that's really cool is it has these little spatter stamps that you can use your inks on. And so on this card, I used the bluebird and the canary colored inks, and I used those spattering stamps. So those were not done using a paintbrush or anything. Those were truly done just with the ink pads. I think that looks pretty nice. The other thing, this rose was done using a couple of colors of pink and using that water technique where I tried to stay with the shade. I tried to shade it a little bit. I could probably go back in and do a little more even now, just to go in and, you know, shade a little darker. But I do think this turned out really nice. And again, this is the single gatefold card where I have one flap here and one flap here. There are some people who will make, they'll use like the rectangle dies that nest, and they'll make one big die and then a little die and have them kind of fold into each other. And that's kind of a cool technique too. I don't have one of those made for you, but it's a very cool thing. So it would be kind of like if the yellow thing was a rectangle and then the flowers are a rectangle and then they folded into each other. Someday I'll show you that. Here's a watercolor where I just used one. I used the water and one color. I didn't even do the stem. But you can't, it's not really that noticeable. If you got this card, you wouldn't go, oh my gosh, she totally forgot to color that. Well, you might, I don't know. You're probably like me, very detailed person. All right, so, oh, and one other thing I want to show you that I think, because I'm getting ready to show you some samples, I want to show you the, this is that Strokes of an Artist stamp set, and what's cool about it, it doesn't look like anything, but the truth is, when you stamp with it, you can stamp with different inks and make a real light background and then stamp these lined stamps on top of it and make a very cool effect. So I want to show you some samples. Okay, remember, these are like illegal to show you because I'm going to move my light a little bit. See if that helps. Okay, can you see that okay? Looking good? All right. So like this person, for example, used that Strokes of an Artist, and made backgrounds using yellow ink, and then she stamped the image in black on that white cardstock. I think that looks really cool. Look at that. It turned out really nice. And then she added some bling, which is like the little black and white dots, which I was going to add to some of my cards too, especially, I think it would look good on this one. Some of the bling. Make it look like bubbles or something. Okay. Here is a sympathy card, and you may notice that she used the stitched thin cuts so that you can kind of see the stitched line around the edge. But this is all watercolor, and it does not look embossed to me. This is the embossed one that I was talking about. So Strokes of an Artist in the background, that's the one that I just showed you that has it looks like a blob. This one, it's just a blob of ink, but look how nice that looks done in yellow. And then the spattered ink stamp around it, that looks pretty neat. The thing that this person did that I think is so outstanding is that they stamped the rose image and fussy cut it out. You have to love somebody to cut that thing out. There's not thin cuts with it, so yikes, okay? I hope that glare is not too bad. And then I have a closer up picture of that because it is embossed in gold and watercolored. And you can see she used like a little bit of red, orange, and yellow and just bled that together. Look how beautiful that is. And her leaves, look how nice. Loving it, loving that a lot. This one was colored with markers. You know, the markers that we have now, the spectrum markers, are the tricolors, so they have 3 different colors. So it's real easy to do a dark, medium, and light tone on these flowers. I think that was one of the reasons why these stamps were so popular, is because that is like such an easy thing to color. I mean, you can just color the whole thing yellow and then just add a little bit of shading where the lines are. It even kind of guides you to where that is. Perfect. Here's one. Look at that vellum. Do you love it? Gosh, I haven't used vellum like this for so long. This should be one of my weekly things. I should grab my vellum and show you. So this is white embossing powder. And then you use your markers on the back of it to color, and it shows through the vellum. And I think this is outstanding. And the other thing that I think is really cool, she used the Aurora paper in the background. It's hard to see, but if you look at the outside edge, it's got that peacock green, blue, and then the purple eggplant down here. And so it kind of shades the vellum throughout the whole thing just a little bit. And I just think that is outstanding. And again, she even used the spatters and embossed those. I think they look great. Okay, here is another one that is just real simple marker coloring, and this is using one color of ink, one color green, one color purple, and then she used the spatter onto pattern paper. I think that's one of the mix-ins. This person made a whole bunch. I'm going to kind of try to go close up on each of them a little bit. So there is purple and red. Isn't that gorgeous? Pink. I'm making myself dizzy doing this. I don't know why I did it this way. And red, and then the yellow. I think it's cool. Look at how she used the spatter on this one. That is just that ink, that stamp all over the place in one color of ink. So it's just that all over. That's all. And it just looks amazing. And then she used the trim, like the shimmer trim with the glitter, on almost every one of them. I think she did use it on all of them. There you can kind of see the silver and the black. Those turned out lovely. Love it. Okay, what I like about this one is it is essentially the same image or two that I used today, but just different colors. So let's see if I can just do this. So that's kind of like the one I did. I didn't stamp it quite so much. There's one in black and white. Gotta love that. Just real simple. That's no coloring and it's gorgeous. I really like that with the edges done in like a gray. Again, more black and white. Look at that sympathy. Isn't that great? That is amazing. And that's just really elegant. And pale peach, more black and white. Lots of shading on that one. And I'm not a big fan of purple, as you know, but look at that. Isn't that beautiful? I think these look like cone, like cone flowers in my yard are sort of a purpley pink fuchsia color, and I think those would look good that way. This one, this might be my last one, but this card is made using the June stamp of the month, so it's not quite available yet. But I do have a couple of them that I am trying to sell for $5 a piece. So if you're wanting the June stamp of the month early, I bought a couple of extra because they are cool. And it is coloring, or you could stamp them black onto a colored paper or something. But there are some details to it. But I really love how this looks. I love the background of the daisy / coneflower stamp, and then this on the top in the same colors. Love it. Isn't that beautiful? All right. Oh, I do have two more. Okay. This one is special because it is the tulip stamp. You know, I really haven't even used the tulip stamp in my set yet. I had thought about making one of the card samples using it. I just didn't use it yet. I think it would look really nice in the mason jar, with the mason jar stamp too. The other thing, consultants are going nuts with the mason jar stamp and thin cuts because the thin cuts puts a cut in the top of the mason jar so that you can actually tuck flowers into the mason jar. That's a popular thing right now. But these are done with shimmer brushes. I don't know if you can see, hopefully there's no horrible glare on it. It's hard for me to tell. Okay, but that's shimmer brushes that are, all glittery. So the whole card is just glittery. And then spattered using a brush, like I showed you, spatter, spatter. Okay, and one more. This is a great example of using that strokes of an artist in the background. So this it looks like mint ink maybe, and using this paper pack is retired now, but look how beautiful that is. No coloring involved, just stamping that strokes of an artist, stamping a few paint blobs around the edges using the stamps that come with the flowers, that one, and then black ink. The ribbon looks really nice with it too. Everything looks great on that card. I love it. And she used the little blingy dots. Anyway, so there you go. There's all my illegal pictures that I want to show you for these cards. So one more time, I'm going to show this to you. Double gatefold. Starts with the 12 by 12. Fold in, fold back. Fold in, fold back. So there's that. This is a single gatefold where it's just your 8.5 by 5.5 and folds in. Here is a double. The other thing about using these cardstocks is sometimes I have to put a white something in there for me to write a message like that. Like, I like to be able to not always have to use a white pen. So, ta-da! Okay, there you go. There's some samples. Make your templates, make a card, and I'll put if you're wondering how I choose, just for the record, I want you to know that Pam O won the, I drew her name for the scrapbook layout that I made last week, and so I'll mail that to her. But I have a random name generator. It's like a drawing app on my phone, and I just enter everybody's name and hit the button and it picks a name, and it's amazing. So that's how I pick. And I would do it live like right now, except that I really want to see other people's artwork. I want to see what you come up with, and it doesn't have to be spectacular. It can just be something small. It can even be stickers. Think about how many things you have sitting around in your stash. I would love to see it, and then maybe mail it to somebody who you haven't heard from for a while. I have a lot of cousins. I've been mailing a lot of things to my cousins lately. So I hope you guys have a nice afternoon. I am going outside to put rock in my flower bed. Such a fun afternoon planned. Better than checking my cat's blood sugars. Yikes. I hope you have something a lot more exciting planned than that. I'll chat with you later. Bye-bye.